All right, well, the Basic Education Minister, Angie Motshekga, has sought to explain the circumstances around the death of Langalam Viki, a preschooler who was found drowned near an adult pit latrine in the Eastern Cape earlier this month. Her mother visited the school to inquire about her whereabouts after she failed to come home. Motshekga has clarified that Langalam Viki's death did not occur at her school, as the facility's sanitation infrastructure was in proper working order. Viki, a 4-year-old preschooler, was found drowned near an adult pit latrine in the Eastern Cape earlier this month. For more on this, we are joined via Zoom by Elizabeth Biney from Equal Education to weigh in on the story. A very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
You're most welcome. What do you make of this clarification made by the Minister of Basic Education?
I mean, this incident is quite tragic, and it's not the right time or opportunity for department to be passing the buck or making excuses. The fact of the matter is that there was a pit toilet involved in some manner or another, and these structures have been deemed illegal, they've been deemed dangerous, they've been deemed inappropriate to be on school premises. So the question is, why do we still have schools connected to pit toilets and these illegal and dangerous structures? And why do we always come back to this same conversation when there's a tragic incident involving a child? Why is it that the department is failing to do its constitutional, moral, legal duty for learners by removing these dangerous structures from our school premises across the country?
But the minister has said that this doesn't actually happen on the school's premises, so that then removes the blame from her department if indeed this pit latrine was put elsewhere. The blame should then perhaps be put at the feet of, I don't know, maybe, Department of Housing or something else. But she's saying that it wasn't actually on the school's premises. I mean, what do you say to that?
The conversation we are having here, or the debate we should also be having here, is that this little girl could have been anyone else. There are so many other pit latrine related incidents at schools that are not reported on because they are not made famous or they are not made public. So the conversation should not be whether because the incident happened at school or not. The thing is, these structures are dangerous. They are endangering the life of learners and the future leaders of this country. So even in the communities themselves, it is not something that we should be condoning. But the point is that we have more than 5,000 schools in this country that rely on pit toilets as their form of sanitation. Let the minister start from there by addressing these challenges. The scenario we are dealing with has many different aspects to it that we cannot obviously weigh in because we do not have all the facts on the table. But what we are saying to Minister Angie Motshekga is that it is due time that they actually deliver safe, proper sanitation to all the learners in South Africa.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that there's about 5,000 schools still using pit latrines, which of course is a staggering number and a scary number, in fact. When we look at that number, you mentioned the fact that some of the cases aren't necessarily reported on. I think you said some of the cases aren't famous. How many incidents are you then aware of that is this happening on a regular basis, that we find these sort of accidents, these sort of incidents where children do in fact get hurt, or in extreme cases like this where a child actually does die?
And one child that falls into a pit toilet and gets gravely injured or, God forbid, loses their life is one case too many. And we recognize this as a nation when ministers signed the norms and standards of public school infrastructure into law in 2013. And when that law came into effect in 2013, completely banned those structures from being present and used in schools. So whether they are in use or even not being used, but present at schools, it is not allowed. It is illegal. So the mere fact that we have to always, rally behind this campaign when there's a tragedy is actually unacceptable, because we can't afford to keep losing children. We can't afford to keep losing the future of our nation before we address something as basic and as morally correct as proper, safe sanitation for learners in public schools.
Going back to the fact that, you've mentioned that number 5,000 schools still using these pit latrines, how do you believe that government, the Department of Basic Education, should actively address this problem? I mean, one would ask, when we're sitting with such a huge number like that, where exactly they would, begin?
The situation we are dealing with is, I think, a lack of public political will in addressing the matter with the agency that it requires. So previously, when we had engaged the department on this, they always raised money as an issue or as an hindrance towards that, duty to provide safe sanitation. But consistently, we are seeing departments underspending, they are irregularly spending, they can't even spend, and this money is being taken away. So clearly there's a problem with the planning, the political will to actually take this matter seriously and address it once and for all, instead of us changing deadlines, dragging our feet, coming up with political rhetoric when there's a tragedy. We need a government that actually takes the lives and the future of our learners seriously and does all that it can to actually provide them with the basic services and infrastructure that they deserve to be able to fully participate and enjoy in this right to basic quality education.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us your input there, and certainly to reacting to what the the education department has had to say. That's Elizabeth Biney from Equal Education, certainly weighing in on the story, and of course that clarification coming from the Department of Basic Education through the Minister, Angie Motshekga.